Welcome, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Risen Divine League, where we have finally made it to playoffs. We've got a banger playoff matchup here in our upper bracket semifinals. It is going to be starting things off here with I have lost my sheet with the team names on it, but we have got ourselves Death Cards taking on Travelers. We rescheduled from the other match. My name's Gordo. I'm joined by Dobby Mondonite. Dobby, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It feels great to be out here on a Monday while we have a break from Worlds where NA is still having hope, and then we get to be here and cast some great teams in Divine.
Absolutely. It's a great day for North American talent, a great week for North American talent all around. And we got some great ones here between the Death Cards and between Travelers. It's been a really close split of the Divine League all around. The Death Cards taking first seed with a 6-1 record. Travelers are coming in at the fourth seed, but second through fourth, they all had equal records, every one of them finishing 5-2. Just the craziest three-way tiebreaker streak to figure out who exactly gets which seeds. So I wouldn't put too much faith into the second, third, fourth place seeding. I think any of these teams could have bounced up and down depending on their performances against each other and on the day. And Death Cards, despite being the first seed, their only loss in the regular season was to the Travelers. So you really do have to give them a fair bit of credit here for the Travelers coming into this match. Despite being the lower seed, I think they have a real legitimate shot here up against our first seeded team.
Yeah, but when Travelers beat Death Cards, it was week 2, and since then they've been undefeated in 5 other weeks, and they've been really strong. And while Travelers has had a relatively easy schedule since then, they played Rice, they played Vaporwave, and they've played Solbert. And the only teams that they played in between then were teams that they lost to, which was Redacted, which is another tied for that second place team, and ISU, also tied for that second place team. So there's just a lot out there that makes you want more from the Travelers, but it makes you feel like the Death Cards are going to be really confident going into this game.
Yeah, but there's some questions you could ask about the death cards as well. Death cards have, due to some forfeits, due to maybe what you may call an easier run of the schedule towards the back end here, they've only
Right.
played one match in the last 3 weeks. So we haven't gotten to see them on the current patch very much at all, or even the prior patch very much at all. So still a little bit of space to feel out what they might be going for. They did play against ISU 2 weeks ago. That was their
Wow.
only match in recent memory. They were able to take that one in 2-0 fashion, but it does leave out a lot of questions as to what exactly they're going for in the current meta. Have they changed up, some of their top lane priorities? There used to be a big Cassante priority from Starry up there in the top lane, and then as well as that bot lane that's always shifting around. Jinx is broken now, so what is Zoronos going to go for down there in the bot lane?
I think you make an excellent point. The Cassante is a prio pick with that buff it got. It was so strong it had to be hot fixed. But even still now, it's still got an amazing win rate and is most likely going to be pick or ban within this series.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely. Got a little bit of additional viability as a mid laner as well. But we will check on out the draft that was getting started now. I see we've transitioned into there and going to see, yeah, that Cassante ban away from the Travelers that you brought on up, and then the Gragas and the Sejuani taken off the board for SDC. They're going to be looking to limit what options are available for Stro in the jungle. I would expect that if they're pinching jungle, they're going to take the Maokai ban here as well, or they're going to look to first pick it.
yeah, anything to get them ahead. Strove being that really strong tank jungler who has been known to carry on tanks and just be a playmaker. Um, anything that you can get rid of here will do well. But Stro, don't count him out. Even if you pick the Maokai, he will still go into something that he feels is a comfortable matchup. Like I don't know many poppy junglers that can solo carry games, but he is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The Poppy so powerful in the early game in the current meta, so gotten to see quite a bit of that pick recently as well. The Caitlyn gonna round things out for the Travelers, and that Maokai has got to be the name on everybody's lips right now. But the SDC, they're gonna choose to lock in the Oriana instead for Shredman in the mid lane. That does leave up that personal favorite of Stro, very likely to be taken here on the red side.
Yeah, I love Oriana. She is
Oh yeah.
definitely B1 worthy, 100%. Probably just the strongest and most versatile mid laner in the meta currently. Just one of those all around really good playmaker skills. It is always strong. and no matter what happens. But that Syndra is a known counter pick. Would have loved to see that banned out instead of probably like the Gragas, just because. But we see that Stro opting for that J4 while Poppy is up. Maybe he feels that he's got the better end of this matchup because Lexus is more of a carry style and maybe not opt towards that Poppy centric jungle.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Jarvan come here for Stro as well. I know we've been talking about the Maokai a lot, but the Jarvan's right up there with how much pick rate Stro has been rocking on it throughout the course of the season. And yeah, has really been a big fan of these kind of tanky junglers like you brought up and gets his access out of one of those key ones here. Burger King with the option onto the Syndra as well has been a big AD mid lane player throughout a lot of the season. This time around, going to go in for the Syndra as a counterpick to the Orianna. So not going to have to be that consideration towards more AP magic damage coming in from the top lane and the bot lane, the way that is often the case for Travelers, or at least has been historically. While they've had crit in the bot lane, they have made a little bit of a change in that position over the course of the last week. Get into that in a couple of minutes as the Braum has been locked in for SDC. An interesting thing to see blind in support. No bot laners locked in yet for the Travelers, but they decide they want this Braum more than anything, and they are going to take a blind Renekton into the top lane as well for Starry.
Yeah, the Renekton is just an overall safe top laner, really strong. Even if you get the a bad counter matchup, you're not going to be playing for top side anyway here. The Braum I think is like evil genius intelligent here. The Syndra and Jarvan pair super well with those engage style jungler supports, and Braum says no. Now you have to pick something else, and you're just completely negating that away from them. The Jarvan also itself, like I think Travelers are baited into picking it instead of the Maokai, like we kept bringing up, because Death Cards first picked that Orianna, and the Jarvan A Ori combo is just so incredibly strong that you have to pick it, even if your preferred is Maokai.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. As now the Fiora counterpick for Lil Fizzy, going to be plenty happy with that one. A big carry top laner player for the Travelers ever since he came in around halfway through the season, has been putting up big numbers for them and now going to get their hands on a solid counterpick in the form of this Fiora. The Xayah and Ziggs bans coming through from SDC to try to take away a few options away from Barco Duck, this new bot lane duo that Travelers have brought in recently. They've been running Barco Duck and Aquanico over the course of just their most recent match.
Hmm.
And now this is going to be their second game with the team coming into the day. So, going to be an interesting one to check out. Aquanico been on the sub roster for a while, but has not been their starter. It had been Foxchar. Now going to be looking see what this new duo can bring to them. They're still going to lock in that Kai'Sa, though. That was a favorite of Crit all season long. They're going to keep that priority coming into the postseason.
Yeah, Kai'Sa really strong. And this actually goes into Death Card's favor. Kai'Sa needs that engage style champion, and Braum is like, well, you can't. And the only good AD carry left was Kai'Sa. Just to pair it with Ezreal pairs very well with Braum, so that's going to be a strong lane. This will allow Braum to roam a little bit more because Ezreal is really safe at it. But I really like the Aquanico support change. I saw Foxchart and I saw Aquanico in two games that I've casted, and I liked Aquanico a little bit better. And I think that he is a lot more of a well-rounded player. So it's really smart on the side of the Travelers to upgrade as they move into the playoffs, as you will.
For sure, the Wukong going to be coming in at jungle for SDC. Now going to be a favorite of Lexus, one that's been a little out of the meta lately. I've been advocating for its return for a while. Happy to see that it's finally made its way around there. And the Rakan sneaking its way through pretty late into the draft, been a favorite of the Travelers with Foxchar at support, going to stay that way with Aquanico filling the role now. So that is going to be a pretty solid team composition the Travelers have put together for themselves. Very team fighty focused, very divey, a little bit more disengage opted for the SDC side with that Orianna, that Braum, that Ezreal. They're going to be able to evade a lot of those engage opportunities, especially on the Ezreal, wherever they find them. But you also got to look towards that side lane where Fiora really well positioned up against this Renekton without too many folks who are going to be looking to try to take her on in the one-on-one.
Yeah, and there's just not a lot of things you can do with her being side laning like that. Just a really strong thing. But and then the Jarvan with the maneuverability, you're not really going to want to go up there a whole ton. But Lexus on one of his tried and true. Comfort, I think, is more important in this style of game than it is like what is currently the most meta champion. Um, just like meta only means most efficient, and most efficient can just be 1%. But if the meta's 51%, but you're 55% on on a non-meta champion, then you gotta go with what's comfort. And I think that's gonna show the value of Lexus and his champion pool. As you see, travelers are sticking to what's good now and maybe not have a good answer for what Death Cards is able to bring forward.
Very possible here as getting a little bit of a reset on to the in-client picks and bans here. So gotta get a little bit of a delay getting into the game, but that is just fine as we've got ourselves a little bit more time to chat about the draft. Really feels like it's going to be centered around the top lane. At least that's the place for the junglers to look to focus a bit of attention. Unless you disagree there, Davi, is really who's going to be able to take an early advantage in that Fiora Renekton matchup. That's where I have a lot of questions about how the rest of this game is going to end up playing out. If Starry is able to stay solid on their Renekton, perform, show up to some of these early game skirmishes for objectives, it feels like that's going to be exactly what the Death Cards want to play for. But the Travelers can either get an early advantage on that Fiora or at least reach a point where they're still even in the game and get her to start winning that one-on-one, it's just going to snowball out of control without them being able to really deal with it.
I think with travelers, you're gonna have to focus top. That is gonna be your area of go to. It needs to be there because the Fiora split push is possibly the only way you have to win the game. But on the side of death cards, I like travelers is gonna want to go top, so you just weak sided, and that's why you blind the Renekton. I think that Lexus is gonna spend probably a lot more time around the Orianna just to get her scaled earlier, get to those I'm spikes because a cloned Wukong into the backline of travelers is still going to be able to utilize that command shockwave just as efficiently as a Jarvan Cataclysm. So just playing around that win con, I think, is going to allow Death Cards to win a lot more of these team fights, mostly because it's going to be 5v4 with that Fiora split push.
Definitely makes a lot of sense there. The Wukong going to be their go-to go button on a team composition that's otherwise pretty focused on the disengage there. Just going to try to dip and dive around the Jarvan, make sure that you don't give the perfect angle to the Kai'Sa to Killer Instinct to the backline and eviscerate somebody like an Ezreal or an Orianna. Yeah, big fan of this Wukong in the jungle, though. It's already climbing up the win rates. I think it's the highest win rate at Worlds right now for champions over a couple of picks. Do you feel like this has always been kind of lurking in the shadows as a pick that was still viable even post nerfs, or do you think that it's really something that's changed recently, or can only work in certain team compositions?
I think it's changed recently, mostly just because it's really good into the tankier style engage support, which has become meta. But what's really good about it is the fact that it there's not a lot of other good options out there for what the utility that Wukong can bring in. Uh, and then just through the strength and like the synergy that happens with a lot of other champions, it just works well. It's just it's just harder than it used to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely does. Is you can't quite solo out folks the way that you were able to
Yeah.
on Wukong for a while there, but still definitely going to be an opportunity if Lexus ends up getting a little bit ahead here, potentially be able to pop off and make some moves happen. But you're calling it out, a little bit of focus towards the mid lane there. Burger King going to have to be aware that there might be a Wukong coming in to try to pay a visit before too long, as Stro very likely going to be trying to focus up towards Little Fizzy and make sure that he's going to be able to perform on his picks. As check out some of the runes and masteries as we start to get on through, or just runes, as they are called these days.
Mm.
Going to be that demolish for the Fiora, looking to maybe secure some early plates and maybe leaning towards that jungle attention that she expects to get as well.
Yeah, and the jungle matchup is almost vice like almost the same exact thing. The only change instead of is right there in that third rune set. But they're just trying to heal, do as much as they possibly can. We're most likely going to see dual gore drinkers coming out of both these champions.
Oh yeah, it's a gore drinker era, boys. There's definitely going to be a fair bit of those coming on across. As Yeah, just the focus for most of it. I do see a Scorch versus Gathering Storm look here for Oriana and Syndra, and going to be that first strike opportunity for the Syndra as well. Going to make sure that she's getting those early trades on across and looking to just farm up some additional gold. A little bit more of a scaling pick these days than maybe what she might have been at some point in the past. Going to itemize for that as she looks to kind of just sit back, get her items, and be a lot stronger coming into the mid late game.
Yeah, Burger King is really good at Syndra and is going to have to play through the namesake of Burger King or our God and Savior Bergson in that favorable matchup for Syndra. And Burger King is really good, has a lot of proficiency on that champion, and I think is going to cause a lot of problems for death cards. But overall, I just think the utility of Oriana, as long as you don't lose, you're going to win.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful pick in the current meta. Still hasn't gotten knocked by those nerfs quite yet. It'll get there one day or the other. They're gonna try to tamp that one down before too long, but perhaps gonna have to wait until the preseason as Double Guardians come on across. No huge surprise there for both of the junglers. Maybe a little bit of a Ravenous Hunter there, or what Ultimate Hunter
Mhm.
coming through for the Rakan to make sure that they're going to have that quickness up just a little bit more often. The Revitalize versus Bone Plating, always going to be that debate. Sees an opportunity that maybe the Braum not going to take quite as much poke unless they get all in, going to sit on that Bone Plating instead.
Yeah. And then the zombie word for Aquanico is Rakan. It's just going to provide a lot of excess utility when it comes to controlling the vision game that you're not going to see coming out of death cards, as it's not a typical mastery or rune that you see outside of this and possibly Renata. So I think as long as they're able to clear the vision efficiently, they'll have a lot of free vision to control these objectives, especially because they're looking to engage first rather than get engaged on by death cards.
Absolutely here. So we are ticking down the last few bits of our spec delay. We're going to be getting out of the rift before too long. Reminder, this is a double elim bracket, so the winner of this best of three will move on to that winner side final. The loser will go down to the lower bracket where they are going to have to battle it out for their tournament lives, but nobody are going to get eliminated right here, right now. But a win early on, definitely a very, very direct path towards being able to make it to that final and will lock you top three. So certainly something that's going to be getting very heavily desired by both of these squads.
Yeah, and the fact that they're going to have multiple opportunities will do wonders for them because it also will allow them to grow, learn a little bit more about it because you will see who's picking what and where as the meta develops with this new patch.
For sure, for sure. So we are now on to the Rift. So we are going to be traveling over here in just a couple of seconds. We are ready to get on to the Rift here to see whether STC or Travelers are going to be the ones to take their first win on the Rift today. It is just a best of three. We don't get into best of fives until we are in that top three territory. So to lock in at least one best of five, you're going to have to win here today. See who is going to be able to do it as we are on to the Rift for game number one. Death Cards taking on Travelers.
Yeah, it seems that we're just setting up for a normal 5 point here, at least in the beginning. Both these teams are going to be hesitant moving into each other, just not giving up anything early. Like you said, getting that early, that first best of five win set up, just not having to worry about the double elim, anything to get them ahead and not have to worry about a true elimination.
Definitely the hope here. So yeah, as you said, got like a little bit of a straightforward 5 point coming on across. Doesn't look like anybody's going for anything too crazy. Lexus did manage to sneak a ward into the birds, so we'll have some idea where the Stro is hovering around. But other than that, nobody seems to be looking for anything too crazy. Maybe a little bit of a delayed invade angle from Nico and Burger King as they're chilling out in this ping brush.
Yeah. Well, maybe just get that early vision in and just know where that Wukong is pathing is going to do wonders. Uh, like he's so Lexus is opting for the bottom clear top, maybe to do something a little bit more. Whereas we see Stro actually going away from Fizzy's top side and maybe do anything to get Bark ahead. Just to see what happens. These are the opposite of what we predicted in draft, so I'm excited to see how they're executing.
Yep, could be spicy level 3 angle, but yeah, as you said, Stro going right up to those Krugs seems to imply that that's not the most likely outcome. Starry should be feeling pretty good about maybe getting to 1v1 that Fiora for a little bit longer, at least if they get a whiff of where the Stro is, and they are going to do that now as wanders over to that ward that was placed on the birds earlier on. Seeing that Jarvan's got 2 camps cleared, is moving on down and should be pathing towards that blue side next. It's going to be an opportunity for Starry to start to get a little bit aggressive here. Slices on through, gets a nice Call to Meek, dices back out, but Fizzy, some nice favorable spawns on the weak spots there, will come on out and will ping for a little bit more damage.
Yeah, Fizzy also has to be careful with that grass sprite. You're not going to be able to take those extended trades versus the Conqueror Renekton until you're able to build some heal cut. Especially because without the Grand Challenge, you're not going to be able to do a lot of excess true damage that you need to kill such a beefy frontliner.
For sure. Take a little while. Doran's Blade starts for both of them, of course, mean that it's going to take a little while to get some of that HP back. Priority in bot lane achieved by Barco Duck and Aqua Nico. Stro still finishing out his full clear. Looks like Lexus is going to be doing much of the same, so nothing too spicy from these junglers in the earliest of games so far. A little bit of a recall being looked for Burger King here to see if he's going to be able to either TP back or maybe even try to cheat one out here. Be able to back up for the Scuttle Crab that might be spawning in a few moments.
Yeah, they're just gonna take the full thing and one, either look for a ganking opportunity, but there's not really a good one bot side. However, Fizzy is pushing up ahead and has not placed a ward where he'll be able to see Lexus move. So maybe just to trade a flash here, just to get some pressure so that Starry has a safer laning phase top.
Yep. Sorry, trying to not give this one away. The recall will come through. Lexus back in base, gonna get his first purchase off, and Stro, having already done the same, a little bit ahead of the market right now. He's gonna be on the move up towards the top side and maybe try to influence this top lane in his own way, but Starry's got the wave on his side of the map and doesn't show any signs of trying to break that, so he's gonna be looking to keep it here for quite a while.
Yeah, and you just see that everyone's just right now comfortable farming. The junglers have done full clears. There's no easy ganks based off of where they pathed after their first back. Burger King was able to get a good cheater recall in, getting some good CS denial, and then we see right now in the bot lane Zerano's pushing in the spat wave, but Barco Duck have 6 CS there that he can go for. Keeping this small advantage and building it right now is gonna do wonders for them if they can continue like getting 1 or 2 ahead every minute. It's going to do well for their early item spikes.
Yep, Shredman taking a little bit of a detour to go and get some vision down while he's at it. Is nice freeze achieved by Barco Duck and Aqua Nico here. I think Pierce Blade and Zeranos maybe would have preferred a bounce back towards the center of the lane, but didn't quite work out that way with the size of the wave coming in, and now we're going to take a little bit of a harassment on their way back. They don't seem ready to take a recall quite yet, so we're going to still just be hanging on out here, trying to snipe away what CS they can. A nice stun is landed onto Shredman. He thinks he can walk this one out, wants to hold on to the flash. One more sphere. Looks like Shredman will be able to escape.
Yeah, very good on him to know the damage limits to not burn that flash, because then that would just paint a large target on him, but based off of that gank and the prio that there's coming out of mid and bot lane, they're just going to go for that first dragon and get that. And I love that attacks tech first. You're getting away a really powerful one early. It's going to scale well, but this also means for death cards like, hey, even if we're not good at objective control now, one of the more powerful jungles isn't going to be the soul.
Absolutely. Good move there by the side of the Travelers to be able to secure themselves an early objective with the tiniest of advantages. They don't end up claiming the Summoner spell, but they do end up claiming the Dragon. Pushback achieved by Shredman off the back of the TP, but going to be at TP disadvantage for a little while. See what damage they're going to be able to inflict onto Burger King and onto the structure while they're at it. Still have to be conscious that potential Jarvan gank from disrupting things is going to playing a very calm, a very controlled early game from both sides so far. Neither team coming out with a substantial lead little bit of CS advantage in top has been found by Starry. It's going to largely be equalized by this crash. First Dragon going over to Traveler is the only thing really worth speaking about too much.
Yeah, it's just really slow. It's hard to keep going. It's like dead even gold. They're pathing very well. Hopefully now that we see Shredman and Burger King hit those ultimate spikes, Lexus and Stro can't be too far behind. So excited to see what they're able to do once they hit 6 here. Just because there's going to be a lot more fighting potential.
Do you see the sheen coming through for Lexus there? So it looks like it's likely going to be a Divine Sunderer instead of the Gore Drinker, the Wukong. That's a little bit of a throwback to the build that he's been going for most of the time. He's been a jungler and will be looking to try to work their way through the Jarvan that way.
I think
achieved by the Wukong. So that's
Yeah.
got to feel pretty good, be able to go even in that jungle matchup throughout the whole early game and not have to worry about a potential flag and drag.
Yeah, and I think that Divine is really good because correct me if I'm wrong, he's able to proc it on each of the swings of his Cyclone.
Yeah.
So he will be able to build up that heal probably just as efficiently as a Gore Drinker's burst could. And you're just also shredding through any of that front line, such as that Jarvan, who is going to be a beefy person.
Yeah, for sure. So, Stro pathing towards top now, trying to make something happen as Starry takes a really rough trade up against Fizzy. Grand Challenge wasn't even popped. Starry gonna have to throw down the Dominus just to get a little bit of a health bar buffer. Will take the recall, and this is right as Rift Herald is spawning, so they're gonna try to push in the top wave. Pierceblade and Lexus setting up a little bit of a trap though.
This is big brain if they're able to get anything. And as Shredman is also just pushing up there.
Shredman coming on up. Lexus finds his man. There's going to be the flag and drag away. Trying to chase down with the Cyclone. Flashes on in. Cyclone landed onto 2. Stro has nowhere left to go with the flash already used. The crushing blow comes through, and that's first blood picked up for Lexus as Fizzy has to flash away. Not going to be able to fully proc the Grand Challenge, and that's going to be a win picked on up for the Death Cards.
Yeah, and really smart of Fizzy there as well, just to flash out of the command shockwave. If he gets hit with that, he's dead.
They're re-engaged found here. Gonna be Shredman taken very low, but a good block from Pierceblade. Gonna save him a little bit of damage. Starry is here. Starry has some rage, doesn't have the Dominus, but is still that big scary Renekton. Still feels like SDC have been pushed away here. Shredman solo on HP, no Cyclone available. Stro back on the map. Looks like they are going to seed this Rift Herald.
Yeah. The fact that Aquanico is able to get everything right there as Bark burns Zeranos' flash. But Aquanico, really good job engaging onto Shredman. Burger King utilizing his ultimate as well, just unleashing all that power. Doesn't kill him, but forces them out of that team fight. And good guy Death Cards leashing Rift Herald for the Travelers.
Yeah, so Death Cards come out ahead in objectives once again. We'll see how much extra gold they're able to convert off the back of that one, but you'll trade First Blood for Rift Herald, assuming that you're actually going to be able to get some plates out of it. Maybe even more, it does carry with it that upfront gold as well as that gold off the back of the plates. See where exactly it was allocated can make a difference as well if they're able to get Lexus that early item advantage. Stro camping around mid lane. Shredman wisely realizes that this is a big risk for him and is just going to hang back by the turret.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's not a lot that they can do right now, especially with Shredman's flash down. And you don't want to, like, overforce anything.
Shredman very wisely playing this as safe as possible, as there is a 3-man squad just waiting for him to step a little too far. Stro gets impatient, goes on in. Shredman still can't get away. The ball's actually thrown a little bit further away than they might want it, but there's going to be the Cyclone through. No time to cast the Shockwave, though, but they might be able to follow up onto Stro anyway. Lexus is going to be able to chase him down with the Cyclone, and will be able to pick up 1 kill. Now trying to turn this into Burger King as well. A nice True Shot barrage from across the map will knock the health bars lower. Double scatter landed by Burger King, and the fight should stop there. It's a 1-for-1 in mid lane. Does Bark go duck? Maybe looking to make it a little bit more. Going to chase them the rest of the way back and to make sure that this wave crashes into turret without incident.
Yeah, and this is pretty fine for Death Cards. Lexus is the carry potential. He's going to be the playmaker and more or less the win con. Yes, Command Shockwave is going to be the thing that deals the most damage, but without Lexus making those plays to ensure that that is possible, uh, like it's null and void, right? So Lexus getting that kill, making sure that it is an even play instead of a net loss, doing everything he can to make sure that his team doesn't fall so far behind is really good there. And he is sitting here now with his Divine Sunderer ready to go as we're looking at getting ready for the next dragon.
Yep. Again, it is the Travelers who have more members here sooner. That Braum still coming out of the base for Pierce Blade. Going to be a little bit late to the party. They haven't yet started anything up. Stro does also have that Rift Herald whenever they choose to pop it. Lexus is here. Lexus finds Aqua Nico, knocks him a little bit lower, gets the Divine Sunderer proc, but not going to go for much more. Shockwave up, but Cyclone on cooldown still. Also have that Glacial Fissure is looking to bring the squad over. Dragon at about half HP. Pierce Blade going to lead the charge in from the top side. And backing away are the Travelers, a little bit nervous about this potential engage, and maybe without the exact timer on Cyclone, there's going to be the Scout of the Week coming on through. Aqua Nico going to pop the quickness, the Smite is going to come on through. Stro is able to secure the Dragon. They pop the Syndra ultimate on the clone. That's not what Burger King's hoping for, as that's going to be the Shockwave landed on a 2, but no follow-up damage to be found. Looks like that's a win for the Travelers as they get the Dragon and nobody falls.
Yeah, that's really good for the Travelers there, just because like they're able to get the kill. They may not have been able to get the kill, but they're still getting that dragon. They're still getting that stacking and getting that early, getting those early power advantages. Even if you're even with gold, you're still getting the gold advantage from those silent buffs that they're giving you.
Sure. Now, going to be just jumped up mid lane once again. This is where they're going to choose to pop the Rift Herald. This should get them probably 2 more plates for Burger King. Lexus, though, fishing around, has the Cyclone, pops it, flashes forward, will take down Burger King, and now has a second proc on top of Stro. Stro has to flash away as well, but he might get chased down by the red buff. It's a double kill for Lexus. He's 4-0. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the Travelers duo have been able to pick up a kill on a Pierce Blade. All summoners down from that Braum, and it just wasn't enough. A good lockdown from Aqua Nico, going to give that kill over to himself.
Yeah, but it going over to Aqua Nico and not Bark, kind of a shame, but overall still a net positive play, at least from coming out of this bot lane. Stro and Burger King are losing the 2v2, well, the 1v2 just to Lexus alone at that point, but at least Barco Duck and Aqua Nico are able to keep this team in it as we start transitioning here into the mid game.
All right, there's the move forward, and dash away from Starry. A little Fizzy coming out on top of a lot of these trades. Starry might try to turn it back, though. A nice Cull the Meat going to net them the lead in the health bar trade, but that completed Trinity Force has got to make you think twice. Well, is that level 11 Starry going to hit that themselves? Has the dominance available, as well as Pierce Blade hanging around. Stro arriving to the play as well, just clearing out some vision, and just seeing him on those wards should be enough to stop this play.
Yeah, but seeing that Stro is topside, it's going to pull Lexus to that part of the map because he knows he wins these fights. And as long as he's up there, he could potentially go for this top dive and transition that into second Rift Herald, since there's no other major objective up.
All right. Big crash of the wave up here. Second Rift Herald spawning before too long. And Lexus, with so much of his team's money in his pockets, going to be the member to watch in this upcoming fight. They might even look for a dive on a Fizzy here. Starry leading the charge. They're just going to blow Fizzy out of the water. And Fizzy is gone. Now with that numbers advantage, they're going to look to turn that into the Herald. Wave crashing into mid lane. Going to have to get picked up by Zeranos. And everything seems to be well set up here. Keep your eyes on Barco Duck pushing in the bottom. But as long as that doesn't turn into too much, and there's the TP from Starry, this should be able to be secured and be a win for STC.
Yeah, it's really good to send Starry out there, just because he's going to be able to survive most of the dives that come his way, especially since they're weak-siding the bot lane right now. This is just a really good macro call play from the side of Death Cards, making sure that they're securing the objective, transitioning this into another objective, especially now that they're not losing a tower for what is essentially a tower. this is extremely positive play for them.
5-0 for Alexis. Maybe wishes he could be sharing the wealth with some of the carries a little bit, but very, very powerful individually. The richest member in the game for certain at this point, and getting another recall off before too long to be able to finish off some more items. And gonna need to be a big force coming into this Dragon number 3 fight in 50 seconds. It is just Cloud Soul, but they're still not going to want to give this one up without any interaction at all.
I think if you want them, especially with all the engaged potential that you have with the Cyclone and Command Shockwave, you want to get as many of these things as possible to get into that backline even after a flash is burned. Yes, it's not the best, but it's four dragons stacked together still gonna do a lot of work for you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. As very faint gold lead over towards the Travelers at this point, as they were able to pick up that first turret gold, but going to try to do the same now is SDC. They will be able to pick up this mid lane turret, no problem, and that's going to be their signal to back away and look to set up for this Dragon. The Rift Herald will fall after taking the turret, but they're going to be able to push on in. Now setting up multiple members in the river already.
Yeah, but with all the prio they have, they're just transitioning it into the next Dragon. Fizzy's going to have to back, and if they want to contest, burn that teleport. And there's not a lot of good places for him to go.
Good little bit of harass found by Zoronos, going to largely be blocked by the Guardian of Aqua Nico, as are going to be able to secure this one. The Dragon does go down, 4-man squad coming down the river, not going to look for the fight. Will be a successful disengage by SDC. They're going to return to the jungle, keep on farming up. Now, there's going to be a mid lane siege attempt here from the Travelers, but there's still a full squad. There's the flash in from Starry, locking down Burger King. He gets taken off the map without a chance to do anything. And there's the Cyclone spinning away from Lexus. Stroke gets locked down by the concussive blows, and now they're going to chase further forward with Starry. Starry takes one out with the Dominus. 2 more kills go over to SDC. They pull the trigger and they win the fight.
Yeah, but Little Fizzy's still able to make that like not a complete total loss by his split pushing, able to get that tier 2 tower or tier 1 tower in the bot lane.
Stuff is continuing to push on in mid lane here. Barco, Duck, and Aqua Nico want to make sure that they don't give up an inner turret, and should be able to do that. Fizzy going all in, pops the grand challenge. Starry doesn't have Dominus, Starry doesn't have anything, and Starry is in the ground. Fizzy regenning up off the back of that ultimate, now going to look to continue this push out of the turret. Nobody's there to answer.
Yeah, little that's a misplay from Starry. His Gorge Drinker passive active was up, and he just never utilized it or never even had the opportunity to just to get that heal. Like, if one more tower shot would have killed Fizzy, and a 1-for-1 is definitely more favorable than just gifting away free gold to that Fiora, who is that win con for Travelers in this game.
That's a good look for Fizzy as well. Hadn't been able to participate in a kill yet this game. Now going to get one solo. Going to get that recall off. Going to come back into the action with Tiamat. A lot of the way done towards completing that Ravenous Hydra, and going to be continuing on with the split push game. Shredman going to be the one next on the docket to take on this Fiora in the side lane.
Yeah, Shredman probably stands a little bit better of a chance just because you have that range advantage where you can just whittle him down and poke it out. But there's not really a lot to be done right on the map now. Next Dragon's not up for 3 minutes. Yes, Baron's up, but no team has Baron taking potential unless they get an ace. So, and maybe if I'm Death Cards, I'm trying to get as many towers as I possibly can. Even out this gold, they're only behind 500, but they're in their driver's seat, and they're starting to getting all this prio. So anything they can do
matters too, right? I mean, Lexus already on that Black Cleaver, has 2 items completed. He's going to be happy to spin on top of some members anytime he can manage to force a fight. And you can see here, Travelers giving up some of mid lane. They're going to lose their middle inner turret and face down from Lexus. Just seeing what they can pop, seeing what fights they can get started while they got multiple members. Shredman gonna pop that ultimate, forces the flash out of Burger King, and Lexus isn't done yet. Lexus is chasing out Aqua Nico. Stro is here as well, but now you're locked in here with me. They're gonna start spinning around. Barco Duck is there as well, but gonna get hit by the follow-up knockup. There's the stasis for Lexus, but the damage coming through. That's a big shutdown into Barco Duck's pockets, and Stro is over the wall, looking to chase down Shredman, who doesn't have the shockwave available yet. Fizzy gets chunked for a bunch, but and will disengage from that. And now with Starry on the other side of the map, it looks like SBC are going to have to back away.
Yeah, SDC is very lucky that Travelers isn't going for that Baron. You take away Lexus, you have the Kraken on Kaisa. She just got that shutdown, so she's going to be able to, so she just completed that Navori. There's just a lot of potential to take these objectives now, especially as we're getting to more and more item spikes on the rest of the team.
Yeah, definitely now going to be the Man Immune completed for Zeranos as well, so the 80 carries keeping relative pace, but oh boy, that's another Zeal picked up by Barco Duck off the back of that shutdown gold, so feeling very strong and showing a little bit of a lead over this Ezreal. They've got about a 1,500 gold lead for themselves right about now. Barco Duck, all of a sudden, a big threat on this map, and somebody you're going to have to be paying close attention to in these upcoming fights.
Yeah, I think that that entire gold diff is just on Barco Duck after getting that shutdown. So there's just a lot of potential on the side of Travelers, just appeal for him. And he's got some self-peel with that killer instinct, but like that has got to be the target of death cards here going into it. But they also got to be very wary. Fizzy's just going for the split push, so any fight you take, yes, you have the numbers advantage, but you're going to start losing out on towers soon.
And Shredman flashing in, wants to get onto Burger King here, I think. Yeah, did pop the shockwave, is going to force out that stopwatch, and now can just chase Burger King the rest of the way down. They give the kill over to Zeranos. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, split push successful. Fizzy is taking an inner turret, but they're going to start off the Baron off of that. 2 members in mid, 1 member in bot. It looks like Travelers are just trying to take objectives while they can, but now that they realize that the Baron's going down, they're going to start sending members over. Teleport in from Starry. This is going to be the full 5-man squad on the Baron, but Shredman is already so low, going to have to play pretty far away, and is standing right on top of a ward. Barco Duck could just jump over there and take him out, but instead going to try to play this a little more front to back. There's going to be the lockdown. Shredman gets blown up. Barco Duck gets that kill. Lexus looking to lock down Stro, but can't find him either. Starry's already popped the dominance. There's going to be the knockup onto all 3. They funneled them into their own jungle, and the death cards are going to collapse. They managed to pick up Barco Duck. They're going to chase down Stro as well. Flag and drag back through the team to try to get back out to the safety of the river. But this whole while, Fizzy is taking structures in the bottom lane. He's got an exposed inhibitor. They've been able to take the whole dang mid-turret set, and they're well ahead on the map.
Yeah, they're literally just getting outplayed so badly right now. And they don't have an answer for Fizzy. Good on them that his TP is going to be down for a little bit, so there's not going to be a lot of these large map plays, but like just being able to get such a large gold advantage just from farming objectives for his team just makes this so difficult for death cards to win this game.
That's the thing. They managed to force the fight they were looking for off the Baron, but they don't get the Baron, and it's just 2 kills that they find at the end of the day. 4-1, and meanwhile they lose half the structures they had left on the map. The bot lane inhibitor is exposed, the mid lane inhibitor is down, and it's going to be so hard to contest for future objectives. Yeah, they get that second dragon, but that might be the last objective they're able to get their eyes on in a while.
Yeah, like they're going to have to overload the side of the map and kill Fizzy just so that they can go for the objective and the Nexus play, but I don't think they have an answer for him now. He's got 3 items, including that Hull Breaker. So even if they overload him, that means he's going to buy enough time for the Travelers to just, like, end the game.
And they're going to try to lock down Aquanico. The Shockwave was popped, but didn't connect. That's their full combo. Here comes second Cyclone. Not even going to land on a Stro. Pierce Blade trying to chase someone down. Doesn't connect with the Winter's Bite. And that's the full engage combo utilized. Barco Duck just dashing in. Knows that there's no threat towards him. There's no Shockwave. There's no Cyclone. There's nothing that SDC can do.
Yeah, like, 0 things. On any side of the map right now, Burger King unabated on that bot side, getting that inhibitors for free, more or less.
Oh, Burger King All right, maybe pushing it a little bit too far. There's a little bit of something they can do, although Burger King flashes away and is actually set up for a great fight. The knockup connects on a Shredman. Marco Duck, untouched to the backside, keeps shooting into Pierce Blade. Here comes Lexus to try to trade at least something back. Marco Duck is forced to flash, but the full damage combo comes through from Travelers, and they're going to take down another mid-jungle duo down for SDC, and the Travelers do not have to stop this push.
Yeah, the Travelers made liars out of us both. They're going to be able to take away game one here, completely upsetting the predictions and more or less all of our expectations as they close this one out. And it's a slow game. 9-7, 23 minutes. It's not action-packed, just really smart decision-making and taking the fights that need to be taken and not the fights that they just came to them.
Yeah, not able to find the forces that they were looking for. That is going to be a game number one win to the Travelers. They keep on winning up against the number one seeded team here in the league. I mean, I'm going to be honest about the Death Cards. I maybe wish I was seeded against anybody else, as it looks like Travelers are just the one that have their numbers so far this season. They're going to have to try to find a way to turn that fate around, as they've yet to win a game up against Travelers yet.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just their kryptonite. Like, they're running through everything else in the game, and it's just this is not going so hot for the rest of them. So I don't know. They're gonna have to adapt very well. They tried to make these plans. They got one of the best priority picks in the game, but if you're gonna go Orianna, you need to get rid of that Syndra. I think that's got to be the game plan if there's any further adaptations coming forward.
See what exactly they're able to do. We're going to throw it to a quick break while we get a champion select for game number 2, but we will see you guys over on the other side when we get into that second draft. Welcome back, everybody. The Risen Divine League, where we are seeing Travelers up 1-0 over the Death Cards in our winner's side semifinal matchup. I guess we'll call it upper bracket semifinals matchup as teams are seated directly on in here. I'm back with Dabimon, and we are checking out our caster predictions here in the pre-game series. We also had some predictions from, all right, this still says Dabimon on it. That's actually Slayer's prediction. And then Dobby, you were also on the death cards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So we only have an asset for 4 people, but we did get 6 people's predictions, and then Spooky came in with the Travelers. So Spooky and Bonfire off to an early lead here. Definitely the favorites tonight were the death cards, but Travelers maintaining their win streak.
To be fair, Spooky just goes against whatever I say. So on the off chance that I'm wrong, he gets to be right and then rub it in. That is our he is my rival, my mortal
Bizarro?
enemy, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But yeah, death cards just what I really think is happening here is that Travelers aren't the 4th seed. Since they benched Crit and picked up Bark Go Duck, they are probably either the best or second best team in the league. And their record just doesn't show that because they only got to showcase their ability versus Solbert, whose only wins came from FFing opponents. So there was a lot to be left for debate. And now that we are here in the playoffs, they're showcasing their true talent and skill level. And I think these two teams are the best teams in the league, and Bark Go Duck makes it so.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, Barco Duck definitely having a good performance in that last game, and really was all about Lil Fizzy in the top lane as well. For the time, pretty quiet for a decent chunk of the game as Travelers were able to build up their lead, but for the time that Lil Fizzy was able to win that one-on-one interaction with the Renekton, it just seemed to get completely out of control from there. The Death Cards couldn't find their fights. They couldn't make the most use out of their Wukong Orianna combo, and from there on out, it's just the Travelers just picking them apart across the map. Definitely a little bit of a macro showcase there from our, at the time, red side team. Now they're moving on to blue for game number 2.
Yeah, and I think red side is probably the strongest. Just I don't know why, like in competitive and solo queue, red side getting those guaranteed counter picks just helps a lot. Just because there's so much available in the meta for them to choose from, as long as one of them are their comfort champions. And you saw there, even with probably one of the best mid picks on blue side, they were still unable to utilize it as well as they should have to go for the win. So it looks like they're just changing it up, and I really like that they're not trying to just force the same thing. They want they want to go a different route and do what they need to do here
Yeah, so
as
let's
we
check it
move
on
into the draft.
out. Yeah, draft getting kicked off here. The Travelers on the blue side, they're going to take the Casante, the Graves, and the Oriana off the board. That Gragas ban going to remain, as is the Jinx. Will they round it out with the Sejuani? No. They're going to take the Fiora off the board instead.
Yeah, really smart for them to go for that. M- maybe not a first phase ban just because the only reason why they picked Fiora is because you B3'd Renekton. So they were very comfortable in that matchup. Unless here you want to grab the Renekton early, even I don't understand the ban. I really don't. Even if you R3 Renekton, you could still ban out Fiora safely and not have to worry about that matchup. Maybe they just don't feel comfortable playing against it, or someone's hearing Fortunate Son in the background and having a flashback of PTSD. But we'll see what happens as they lock into Ziggs, which I think is extremely strong to Zaya in that bot lane.
Yeah, the Ziggs banned away, as well as the Zaya by SDC in game number 1 in that phase 2. They're going to get it locked in for themselves here, looking to take that into the bot lane. You got to believe for Zoronos. Could be flexed mid for Shredman, but Zoronos has been the one to pilot the Ziggs most of the time when they have been able to secure it in the past. Rakan, that heavily prioritized support as well, going to come through for Pierce Blade. Travelers now with a bot lane to respond to. They've already gotten the Zaya. She's been divorced from the Rakan and now is going to have to pair up with the Nautilus instead. Let's see exactly what we're going to find now is either a jungler or a blind solo laner's got to come through now. Plenty of good junglers on the board. That's Sejuani no longer on the ban list this time around. The Viego up as well. See what the Travelers want to run for.
I like the Sejuani here. They are got the Nautilus, so they're going to be able to stack up that permafrost a lot easier. But Stro on that Maokai, he now has the opportunity to bring it out. And this is literally to him game point. So doing what he can to go to bed at a reasonable hour, which I thank him for if he's able to close it
I
out.
respect it. Yeah.
However, Death Cards has a lot more ability to maneuver around the map already just with those two picks, and getting that Jace locked in means there's a lot uh, side lane problems or prio coming out of that mid lane. He's able to crash that wave relatively fast and then move on the other side of the map as quickly as he wants to, especially with that gate. But Rakan able to roam because Ziggs is also another safe bot laner that Zeranos can utilize without having to worry about anything extra. But seeing that Syndra ban come out, really good, even though that like Oriana's been banned away, Syndra is still Burger King's probably best champion. And just leaving up a comfort pick that's also a counter pick in that game one definitely bit them in the tuchus. So
Yeah.
good to see that they're just getting rid of comfort ability away from him here as we go into game number two.
Absolutely, and the Jace going to make its first appearance in our series here tonight. This has been a big pick. The most played mid laner for both of these mids. Shredman going to be the first one to get his hands on it on the night. See, should both be well versed on the various Jace matchups. They're going to get some counter pick bans away as well. So they're going to take off the Syndra. They're going to take off the Ari. There's going to be the Renekton, and there's going to be that Karthus, a pick that we have not gotten to see out of Lexus yet this season, but has been banned against him before. Could also potentially be flexed around. We'll see what the selection is going to be now. SDC probably going to want to glance towards a jungler and save counter pick for Starry, especially with the Renekton taken off the board, as well as that Cassante, the safe top lane options dwindling in front of them. Lexus going to go for that Sejuani that still stands up.
That's really good. And he's able to stack that up for all with Rakan and then Hammer Mode Jace. It makes you wonder what they're gonna grab Starry in the top lane here. Uh, as you get into it, I kind of want to see Yone. I think it's just going to be really well into whatever they pick, unless it's like a Rumble. Um, but Yone, possibly Jax. I really love the champions, and Travelers takes it away.
Right, the Yone for likely Burger King. He's been a big Yone guy. That's been his second most played after Jace, but a big fan of those AD mid laners. The question is Maokai going to be your only source of magic damage, or does this push Lil Fizzy towards something like the Gwen, something like the Kennen, to try to bring in a little bit more of that magic damage? The Gwen been the go-to for him in most of these kind of AD mid laner situations that he's been pushed into a lot over the course of the season. See which one he wants. Yep, there's going to be
Yeah.
that Gwen, and it's going to get locked in.
Yeah, and this also puts Death Guards on the back foot as well, because they have to. There's not a lot of good other options out there as well. Most of them are going to be on the tankier or bruise side, which Gwen will fight very well into. Not a lot of good choices from the carry side for Starry, but uh, going
Ooh.
for that set is a high key counter to Gwen and really well into this team who wants to engage onto you, and set can be that counter engage. So Sejuani Rakan follow up while Ziggs literally just hits you with a bomb while all of you are unable to move. I think this is really good from them. Uh, there's a lot of playmaking potential, but Ziggs being the only true source of AP damage, they're gonna have to protect him alive long enough, which he's safe for. But if they're able to take out Ziggs, then there's not really going to be anything. And Maokai and Athema's rusher will most likely put it on Ziggs just so he can just rush armor afterwards and then just be that front line that no one kills.
Yeah, and the Stro, it feels like, gonna have his work cut out for him in this early game, right? He's got a mid laner that's gonna be looking to scale up a little bit in the Yone. He's got a top laner that's gonna be looking to scale up in the Gwen, and then there's so much snowball potential coming out of the death cards, right? He got outperformed in the jungle in the early game by Lexus in game number 1. It feels like Lexus was able to find the better end of a lot of those 2-on-2s, 2-on-3s, or uneven numbered situations on the Wukong. Now he's on the Sejuani, and if he's able to win out on some of those, you get your Jace ahead, you get your set ahead. That's really going to spin those matchups. And if you ever get the Ziggs into a lane where you've already taken away a couple of platings, he can risk taking down that whole dang turret and really setting you up for a crazy dominant early game.
Yeah, and he's got options for all three lanes because all three lanes have that melee capability. So I foresee him focusing around the mid and top just because Ziggs is going to be relatively safe, but having the Pierce Blade roam on that Rakan will just do wonders for them as long as they're able to sync up their backs accordingly, which they've been shown to do in the past. It's just one of those things you have to think about as we play this game because Bartoguk, Aquanico, completely different mid lane than they've played against, even when they lost to Travelers in week 2. So they have a large learning curve ahead of them for this game.
Yep. Looking for their first win over the Travelers of the season, and they're going to need it. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in the lower bracket, while the Travelers will lock in at absolute minimum top 3 and will stay in that upper bracket. They would love to be able to pull off one of those tonight. We guarantee themselves top 3 Divine League finish. Always something to be well sought after. And, doing it as an upset up against the first seed. Of course, I'm sure they don't really see it. They probably don't see themselves as the 4th seed, right? They had an equal record against the 2nd and 3rd seeds, and they beat the 1st seed in the regular season. So they probably feel like they got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They think that they could have very well finished first here, especially with their new roster. They got a big chance to prove it here if they could take a dominant 2-0 best of 3 up against the first seed in the group.
Yeah, if they had this roster at the beginning, they'd most likely be undefeated. Just because of the competition they played against, were closer games, even with a weaker bot lane duo, and they were still managed to get some wins off of that. So that's really good for them and how they go for this. And I think it's showing here. But Death Cards can't count them out. They're still number 1 seed for a reason. They beat all the other teams, no problem. And they're just going to keep going forward here. I don't really foresee them getting too owed, so we're definitely going to. I most likely believe we're going to have a game 3 on our hands.
Yeah, I think it looks good here for the side of SDC. I will agree with you there. I like the game plan that they're going for. I'm a big fan of a lot of these Ziggs focused team compositions as we start to get into our spec delay. For reference, by the way, the Travelers, yeah, like you said, different roster, but they did lose. Their 2 losses in the regular season were both to the 2nd and 3rd seeds, to ISU Masters and towards Redacted. that's kind of the situation that puts you down in fourth seed, right? You lose that three-way tiebreaker, you end up further down. So, gonna get some revenge opportunities either way, whether they win or lose this series. But a win certainly what they'd like to come out of this with is zipping through the picks and or the runes here rather, is phase rush for the Maokai, phase rush for the Jace, looking for a little bit of additional mobility there.
Yeah, and going Lethal Temple and Zaya is a tried and true, and the Arcane Common just to get a little bit extra poke, and that Gathering Storm definitely necessary as the game goes on longer, just so you can start to outscale as the only AP threat.
For sure. Gathering Storm, keep it on. Making appearances on the night, there's going to be the Glacial Augment for that Nautilus to reduce some of the incoming damage. Still that similar setup from the Rakan that we saw in our first game. Though the Rakan itself switching which side it's going to be representing, it's going to be very much the same selections coming through. Is do want to
Mhm.
take a look at how exactly we're going to see mid jungle play out, as mid jungle's really felt like where it was a big turning point, at least in the early game, in game
Yeah.
number one. And it was Lexus and Shredman who were able to make the most happen. Didn't end up paying off for them in the later game, but if they're able to fulfill that kind of game plan once again, it feels like exactly what this team composition is built to do.
Yeah, they're gonna have to focus around that as well, just to get Shredman up there. Uh, you just need to keep Zerano safe. A lot of what went bad for them in that game one is their bot lane was getting out 2v2'd. And that's never anything you want, no matter what team you're on. But the Ziggs is just such a safe pick, has so much poke potential, and you don't really need to go in and auto attack like you would on any other AD carry. So this is going to be really good for them. Pierce Blade definitely going to have a lot more roaming opportunities, and anything to get Zeranos is not only item spikes but level spikes so that he can do the damage more. Just because they're going to try and make that a third solo lane.
Definitely makes a lot of sense there, and Pierce Blade going to be unlocked to move around the map to really snowball even harder. See what's exactly going to play out. I mean, Shredman looking pretty good in the one-on-one last game, despite being in an unfavorable matchup now. Going to get, in theory, counterpicked by the Yone, but the early game still feels very strong for the Jace, and then Starry into Little Fizzy. Once again, kind of that early game champ into that scaling up champ. Didn't end up favoring Starry too much in that interaction the first time around. Now going to get another crack at it up against Little Fizzy's Gwen.
Yeah, I think this definitely is a lot more favorable for him in the top side, just because Set is one of those counters to Gwen, is able to win that 1v1 very well, and then the set actually pairs extremely well with the team. Like we were talking about, able to get those stacks on Sejuani's passive, able to just deny any engage with his ultimate, what the showstopper I believe it is, and just completely destroy everything that they have to offer, and then follow up that engage with the quickness and utilizing the Mega Inferno Bomb out of Ziggs, and that's how I foresee that team fight going.
For sure, as it looks like we are loaded up onto the Rift and we are ready to get into game number two. The Travelers now taking to the blue side, looking to complete a 2-0 win over the Death Cards. Death Cards, of course, going to try to bring us to a game three here tonight. So we are on to Summoner's Rift once again, and all 10 members hanging out in mid lane.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying for a cheeky fight here.
Going to be the hook landing from Aquanico, but he gets turned around on maybe a little bit more than they anticipated. That's going to be first blood going on over to Lexus. Starry started the face breaker to pull two members right back in. The rest will be able to disengage, but Aquanico, he thought he had the Nautilus cheese, but he was the one getting countered.
Yeah, and the story outside of that isn't just the fact that Lexus is able to get that first blood. It's that Fizzy has to burn that ghost as well. So this gives Starry a little bit more potential up in the top lane, not only to win the 1v1, but to have that kill pressure as you still have the flash available.
Yeah, really good stuff there to start on off for the Death Cards. That's certainly what they were going to be hoping for coming into the game. First blood goes over to Lexus. This time around, I'm sure Lexus doesn't want to hoard all the kills to themselves. I'm sure they would like to spread that wealth if they get the opportunity. But certainly going to be happy with picking up the first kill. And Gonna be happy to have those summoners off of Lil Fizzy and Aqua Nico as well, with all 10 of them sitting pretty there for the side of the death cards.
And not to mention that a lot of them were able, everyone except Starry was able to get an assist there. So just also having like some excess gold in their pockets, as as I believe everyone did get their back off to buy like the additional potion, so that they're able to sustain longer in that bot lane matchup.
Definitely. Starting off the laning phase pretty calm as we did before. I'm sure they'd like to get a little bit more violence onto the Rift if they can for the death cards. They are, once again, that earlier snowbally composition. Starry hits level 2 first and gets a big trade into Fizzy, who's now just going to be having to play really safe. They're one Facebreaker combo away from potentially giving up a kill.
Yeah, and the fact that he's able to get this trade very well, and Lexus being on the top side of that map after clearing, this looks like a lot of dive potential, and he's just going for it.
You know, Lexus coming on up here, suspecting that the Hollowed Mist might not quite be available. There's going to be the stun from Fizzy, but Starry tanking up the whole way. Going to have to flash away after the fact. The Haymaker, and Lexus picks up another one, relying on that Aftershock to take a turret shot. And that's going to be a 2-0 start for the Death Cards. There's a big engage from Aqua Nico in the bottom lane, but again, going to get turned around on him, and Barco Duck doesn't really get to follow up with too much damage of their own. I think that favors the Death Cards as well.
Yeah, and this is a completely different look than we saw from game number 1. There wasn't any action for 10 minutes. And here we are already at 2 kills at 3 minutes. As we see a weird mid lane gank that just didn't pay off at all.
Yep. Unbound sometimes just gives you the One a little clear path out of there, so he's able to escape. He doesn't get bursted out fast enough, and Stro is just kind of hovering around in case the action goes a little bit further. Does look like that's not quite resulting in too much extra coming through for either side, and so far a very solid early game from the Death Cards, as they've still got plenty of camps left to clear away, and looking for their first scuttler is Lexus.
Yeah, but not a lot could be done. You didn't have the prio, and with Shredman backing, it couldn't stay that far into that river for that long.
Picking up the red buff, going to be Stro, doing very much the same. They're going to return to their landing phase. A little recall was taken by Barco Duck. Keeping close attention now to how they're going to be able to utilize the lead that they've built up. Both kills on Alexis, probably not exactly where you would want them, and going to really need to try to turn that into an actual snowball for one of their solo laners is what they prefer. They'll take it onto Zornos as well. Currently, It's actually Burger King building up a pretty sizable CS lead in the mid.
Yeah, and he's just able to utilize his Soul Unbound a lot to do what he needs. And it just provides a lot of safety for him.
Bro, big flash in. Pierce played up a little bit too far at risk of going down, but nobody popped an Ignite. Actually, Aqua Nico did, but it just didn't end up being enough. Lexus now getting the slowdown onto Stro, and they might get bitten for this. Just barely avoiding anybody getting CC'd or going down, so they'll be happy to be able to avoid this without any deaths, but the push from Zoronos definitely going to be a big threat. Stro takes a big satchel charge, and they're just focusing on clearing out this wave. They do not want to give over turret plates for the Ziggs. There's the flash in from Lexus, and it's going to get met with a flash out from Barco Duck. Wave is cleared, but so many resources taken away from the side of the Travelers.
Yeah, that is a huge flash for flash trade. Just because once Lexus hits 6, he's going to be able to use that Glacial Prison onto him, not being able to dodge it away. Yes, you're going to burn the cleanse, but that just leaves you at the potential of Pierce Blades to hit you with his the quickness and the Grand Entrance, just CC locking that bot laner. That's really good, and being able to get the Spurs Dragon at 6 minutes. This is a complete and total opposite game than what we saw them in game 1.
Yeah, it's been such a great early game play set from SDC, and now they're going to end up with the gold lead for it, as well as that Dragon advantage. Burger King gonna have to snap back here. He's gonna get follow-up CC'd, gonna have to try to dash his way out, looking for a pathway back over. Goes in all in with that Fate Sealed, and gonna take a little bit of extra damage for it, but will be able to disengage.
Yeah, but they gotta be careful. Pierce Blade still has Ignite, And they're trading out the flash of Burger King right there as well.
Looking like they're going to be able to clear back on out the wave. Lil Fizzy still just trying to farm up as best he can up at the top side. And Burger King should consider himself lucky that he managed to avoid actually going down there in the mid lane at a lot of risk. But you can stop the snowball here. There's still plenty of space left to play for for Travelers, rather. Not out of the woods yet, but still certainly game to be played. They're not snowballing out of control yet.
But we see this gank potential coming into the bot side. But nothing really to come out of it with Pierceblade not there for the follow-up. And here we are going back at it, the safe farming. I feel maybe Death Cards feel like they're comfortable enough with a small enough lead that they don't need to push too hard, but they gotta keep the gas pressed. They can't let up. This team will take advantage of your mistakes and your slow tempo, just because they're a more methodical team.
Yep, and it really was the macro plays that ended up setting them back in the lead in game number 1. And so far they've been farming pretty well. They've been able to claw back gold wherever possible. They're not really too far behind yet, as Stro just camping up on this top side. Wants to make sure that nothing's going to get busted open, as Fizzy with a nice trade there. Dodges out on the face breaker as well, going in for a big trade up against Starry. Just picks up the solo kill. Demolishes Starry in the top lane. Big play by Fizzy.
And some old man hands there. I feel like if you were to flash Surge Stopper him into your tower, you could have survived that and traded it. But there's just a lot more potential. Really slow. Fizzy just being aggressive, and Starry with the TP in.
Starry angry now, going for the flash face breaker. Here is the showstopper, and Starry gonna punch him down, gets a solo kill right back.
Yeah, he said, Dabi, I didn't like your plan. I'm gonna do it my way, and just did the same thing, but in reverse.
True.
And now he's got the pile on the top side, slowly pushing it, and it gives Lexus the opportunity to get that Rift Herald. So overall, probably a better play instead of the 1-for-1. But you know, it's giving his team the advantage they need to get these objectives, to get these leads, and the free gold that you get from Rift Herald plus the plate gold, and hopefully early tower, getting that first tower blood as well.
First turret blood. What they're going to be in the market for, nearly getting a second plate there, is Starry. So, looking like a prime location to pop down Rift Herald if one was so inclined. Lexus going to return to his jungle, make sure that he's keeping up that farm, and Fizzy now has that Leeching Leer, plus an extra blasting wand going to be done with the Rift Maker before too long, and now maybe going a little bit too far up. Lexus comes out of the woods, going to try to jump away, but the stun is going to come on through. That's a fully charged Haymaker to the face, and Fizzy going to drop before too long, buying as much time as they can, but Starry will claim the kill at the end of the day, and now there is nobody to stop this Rift Herald charge. There's going to be so many plates for the side of STC. Stro getting caught in his own jungle now by Pierceblade, heading on out. This is actually the enemy jungle. He's looking to steal away this Gromp, and should at least be able to get it, but it's not a good trade for all those turret plates.
Yeah, and there's not really any...
Oh, wow, they're really committing down here. There's the jump back, maybe ill-advised from Pierceblade, as he's going to end up going down. That kill goes over to Burger King. His first turret is claimed up in the top lane. A little bit of a kill found here for Travelers as this second charge from the Rift Herald's coming through.
Say what you want, but I just had a flashback to Titanic and listening to Celine Dion, where Pierceblade took that on purpose to keep Zeranos alive.
Well, it doesn't end up paying off there. Zeranos drops in the follow-up play. They take him down to the follow-up dive. Here's Pierceblade back out. Gonna lead the charge for Lexus as they look to take down Aqua Nico. There's going to be the double snare from Barco Duck. Nice cleanse flash over the wall, but Lexus will swing the mace and take him down at the end of the day, as now it's Nico trying to get out of there without a potential extra death. We'll be able to get out of there on the Nautilus, but this is gonna end up giving over the Dragon.
Yeah, and thank goodness for Travelers that 2 bad dragons are out of the way and they can start stacking probably the best one in the game. But right now, Death Cards have the priority. They're winning the fights. They're winning the lanes. They already got the first tower at Blood. They're transitioning their lead to the bot side to get to funnel even more plate gold into him. This just looks like a very different game. Keep saying that, but like I fully believe this is gonna go to the next game. They're playing so cleanly now. They have an answer for everything that went wrong in the first game, and some might have called what they did troll, but here we go. They got their serious pants on, and they're playing really good League of Legends here.
Yeah, do have to give some credit to the Travelers. They've been able to allocate some nice kill gold on to the members you would want it on. Burger King now getting collapsed on by 4 members. Big Shock Blast connects. He's going to Fate Sealed his way out, and that should be enough to secure the escape. Pierce Blade popped the quickness, but didn't get it onto him in time. The ultimate will protect Burger King, but now he's got to worry about his turret. There's an execute from the Zig Satchel charge coming before too long as they're going to look to collapse on this. Aqua Nico coming around the corner. Might be a full-on 4-on-4 in the mid lane. Maybe to make it 5 if Fizzy arrives from the flank. Starry's still pushing on the bottom lane while this is getting set up, and there goes the Glacial Prison. They're going to look to lock down Stro. He's just got the Demonic Embrace. He gets blown up so fast, but Fizzy joins the fight, so it's a 4-on-4. Not quite able to land the needlework across the crucial targets, as Fierce Blade's going to be able to flash out in time. It's Lexus now as the focus. It's snip down as Fizzy manages to pick up the shutdown, but Starry is able to join the play, and Fizzy now, with no more mist, is going to get Showstopper back into the team. Fizzy trying to escape out through the bottom side, but they've gotten Barco Duck, and he's gonna drop. Now Starry looking to collapse onto Fizzy. The rejoin from Stro is gonna be met with him just turning around and running, as that's all in all not a favorable fight for the Travelers at all.
Yeah, no, and then Starry able to course correct, if you will, get the higher priority target after he used that Showstopper, immediately switched to Barco Duck, because he knew that was the real threat moving in. And right now, there's only 2 plates not taken for the side of Death Cards as these things are about to fall off. So that is an exorbitant amount of gold. They already have 2 towers. There's just so much lead built into this already that the Travelers are going to have to do a little bit more picking and being proactive instead of just answering all the fights that the Death Cards want to take.
Absolutely here. They thought they had an opportunity. They thought they had the 5-on-4, but Stro gets blown up so fast that he doesn't even get to participate. Burger King camping here, finds Pierce Blade. Don't think quite has the damage yet. Commits the Fate Sealed and now finds Shredman. Still looking for the fight though. Goes Fate Unbound. Or Soul Unbound rather, and is going to snap right back. We'll watch as they escape.
Yeah, but this is still not good for Starry. He doesn't have a Showstopper yet as he takes this fight. Gwen has that red buff, and he's not landing his abilities.
Yeah, getting a couple of snips on across though. Starry gonna look for the full-on trade. Nice skip and slap to dodge away, but there's gonna be the Showstopper. The Feather Pull, a little bit shaky there, but they will be able to pick up the kill. They give that gold over to Lil Fizzy. Now with the 5 versus 4 on the map, teleport back into mid to protect that tower. A little bit of space to play with for the Travelers.
Yeah, even with that misplay from Starry, it was still very close. Very close, and it would have been a win if one, Barco Duck wasn't there, or he landed the Facebreaker. But they're trading this tower for the Rift Herald. I think this is a good play just because there's no way you're going to be able to defend that tower, so just get a free tower that you can charge down, possibly 2. But the Satchel charge almost ready for Zeranos to just eat this mid lane turret alive.
And now Fizzy with their 3rd kill, actually hooked back in from Nico. Gonna hold Lexus under the turret. They will be able to Arctic Assault out. So back to my point. Fizzy now with 3 kills and a big CS lead over Starry. At what point, another potential hook. At what point do you start to get concerned about Fizzy just repeating his side lane performance from last game and just dominating the game through the sides?
Well, I think I'm not overly concerned with it because I think they have better answers than they did in game 1 for that split push potential. The Showstopper in itself is really great. You can use the quickness to stop anything. And then just layering that CC, that's just not something they had in game one.
Fair. Fair. Gives them a little bit of space to play around as Rift Herald. Or Dragon, rather. Gonna get started on up. Barco Duck, we're gonna focus that one down. There's going to be Lexus. He gets caught out first. He's gonna have to flash back away. The Dragon is secured by Burger King as Aquanico going to pop down that ultimate, just gonna try to disrupt. Pierce Blade is back in the back line is Starry. Starry gonna be able to stay alive for so long and escape. Pierce Blade running out with the quickness, and he is gonna finally get traded back. There's the Fate Sealed. It connects on to Shredman, and Shredman will drop. That's 2 kills going on over to the Travelers as they're gonna look to disengage. They are low on HP, and this Ziggs is chucking out bombs. The slow gets landed by Lexus. Stro now going to be tanking most of the damage. Will be able to back away in time. The threat of Burger King gives Travelers the space to get out.
Yeah, that's a rough one, buddy. You lose the Dragon, you lose the team fight. It just seems like there wasn't a lot of coordination there going into it. Pierce Blade going into that back line, but unable to secure CC on the Barco Duck. Your Starry blown up extremely fast, not able to buy enough time for the Death Cards to do the same to the Travelers front line. So it just seems to be a little bit of misplay, miscoordination, and they're gonna have a very hard time going into the next team fight because Fizzy now has that stopwatch in his pocket, ready to go, since he is going to be the person initiating these fights as he has been all game.
Yeah, Fizzy getting so strong. Stro gonna start to get tankier now. He did rush that Demonic Embrace, but probably going to opt for something like the Radiant Virtue after that. Burger King scaling up, has got that rank 2 ultimate, completed the Kraken Slayer, working on a second, and going to become quite the damage threat in their own right. They haven't gotten too much money out of the likes of this Jace, so it's not really ahead of the curve. Hasn't been able to complete the Muramana yet. Really starting to get a little bit shakier here, despite the early advantage from the Death Cards.
Yeah, it's not doing so well for them, but I honestly think that I don't know if he's gonna go for the Radiant Virtue on Maokai, because it looks like Aquanico's going for it as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see, as there is going to be the engage from Starry. Pulls back in Aquanico, taking a fair bit of damage, but will be able to get out of there in time. Now taken further away. Going to be able to throw down that Rift Herald. There's going to be the Glacial Prison, but no follow-up available. Barco Dunn takes it, but now can ruin for the re-engage. They're just melting through this pig. The double knock-up. The front line's eviscerated from the Travelers. And now it's going to be STC on the back foot, backing on away. The Travelers come out with another fight win. They've collapsed the gold lead to just under 1,000, and they have control on the map.
Yeah, Fizzy snipped off a lot of bacon there. Just threw so much CC, he was just unable to move. Lexus looking pretty rough there, and Fizzy just immediately going top, looking to press that advantage, getting some turrets, opening up the map, especially now that Baron is on the play table. But there is a dragon spawning in a minute and a half, so we'll see how the priority in the vision is laid out through this, as that's probably going to be the next big team fight we have. And if whatever team is able to get the most control, win it, they're going to get that the dragon, go for the Baron, make the winning play there, and that's going to determine whether or not whichever team wins here.
For sure.
My words
I don't know if you've ever made bacon bits at home, Dobby, but you can use your kitchen shears. The scissors do a great job. Fully recommended. And Lil Fizzy taking that to heart just destroys the jungler there for the side of SDC. And now Lexus is going to have to keep that in mind and follow up fights. He's got 2 items completed, but not too much magic resist. And even if he did, a lot of that's true damage. Very tough to stand up to.
Yeah, it looks like Lexus is just like, well, I don't have an answer for Gwen, so I'm just going to answer everything else. Which is not exactly the best move. But Starry also able to get that stopwatch out. It's sitting in his back pocket as well. Ziggs, Archangels is now Seraphs. Their Mirror Mana now officially complete for Jace, as things are going to look very spicy for this dragon.
Very spicy indeed. As the engage is found. Fizzy maybe up a little bit too far in the 1-on-2. There's going to be the showstopper pull back in by Starry. Now trying to snip their way back through. They're actually regenning so much HP in this extended fight. Fierce Blade is forced out. Aqua Nico caught on the other side is going to end up going down, but Lil Fizzy trying to melt through Starry, who goes with the stopwatch to get their way out of there. Now the rest of the squad has to back away. Fate Steel's still available. A nice dodge on the Glacial Prison. A dodge on the Shock Blast as well. Burger King putting on his blue suede shoes, going to avoid taking any poke damage, but the rest of his team is already so low. They've tanked enough for both of them. They might just have to back away here. They might have to sacrifice the soul point just because they have no chances in the fight.
Yeah, they sacrificed the soul point there.
Worst of both worlds, maybe, as Lexus is trying to chase down Stro. Burger King trying to stand and fight, but Shredman's got plenty of damage. There's the Fate Seal, there's the full combo, and Shredman's blown up. Now Lexus in a 1-on-2, held down by the slashing strike of Burger King. Stro slowing him down with the Bramble Smash, and they're going to be able to pick it up. A 2-for-0 with a 2-on-2 for the Travelers.
Yeah, way too much overforcing there, going for something that they probably just tunneled into, but at the same time, Fizzy was just getting top lane.
Another breaking out fight. Zoronos is caught by Fizzy. This is not the matchup you want if you're the Death Cards. Fizzy snips him down, goes on a killing spree, and now look at this Baron. Shredman just respawning. Lexus down for 10 more seconds. Zoronos down for 30. This has the Traveler's name written all over it.
Yeah, they kind of whipped that entire team fight, and just like we called it, whoever wins that team fight at that dragon is going to get that Baron. And they're just... The gold lead is now another 3,000 in favor of the Travelers. Like, they are looking to be high contenders for the winner of this entire league with how clean they are playing here tonight versus the #1 seed.
Falling behind in both games in the early game, but able to fight their way back through intelligent map play and well-positioned team fights. Very good stuff here from the Travelers, who are now in the lead for the first time this game. They have the Baron buff. They've still got to be conscious about this potential Dragon Soul. One more Dragon will grant that buff to the Death Cards, but that's all they really have to play for right now. They do not have that traditional marksman. They're going to have some difficulties in these team fights. They need any advantage they can get. They've got to start fishing for picks.
Yeah, but they have the potential here. They have a lot of pick in CC, and they're just gonna go for it right now.
Yeah, trying to force the fight out of Marco Duck. He's got the cleanse, he's got the Feather Storm, he's been able to layer him down. He goes into the Feather pull back on through, but only does damage to Pierce Blade. Aqua Nico's dropped. This is an ill-advantaged fight, as Starry's going to be able to dodge back on in. Stro is going to be caught out. Stro's going to go down for the double kill, but look at the side lanes. It's Fizzy knocking on the base doors. A teleport back into the bottom to try to stop Burger King from doing the same. Fizzy has already claimed the inhibitor. There's an inner turret going down for Burger King, and once again, the Travelers, they lose a fight, but they make it worth it in the money.
Yeah, they have no answer for the split push. Game 1, Fiora. Game 2, Gwen. They just don't know what to do here, and it's just biting them real hard.
All right, maybe a little bit too far up here from Marco Duck. He's going to try to pull it back on in with the Feather Call, and actually will just grant that kill over to Fizzy. No opportunity to get out of there if the Blade Call comes on through. Fizzy now looking to chase down Shredman. Popped that mist for the extra movement speed. Not going to land the snip, but doesn't even need to. He's just got so much on-hit damage. He demolishes that Jace. An unstoppable going for the Gwen, as she is going to move back on towards the mid lane. The 3-man squad of the Death Cards looking to clear whatever waves they can, but everything's crumbling around them.
Yeah, they just have nothing to deal with Travelers, and now we're at about 5k gold lead. They're just ballooning this up. Like, the one mistake and they just capitalize completely. It's gonna be the next team fight's gonna be the last team fight based on how this is going, especially especially since Fizzy is about to hit that 4th item, and it's going to be a death cap.
About 2,500 gold ahead. An even bigger lead for Burger King in the mid lane. A very quiet early showing, but has built out that CS lead and that gold lead further and further. The solo lanes of the Travelers playing quietly until it's time to strike. Now dominating the Rift in game number 2. Setting up for this Dragon once again. Again, that Soul, the only thing really to play through for the Death Cards. They have to make this fight perfect.
Yeah, and they have to be very careful about being engaged on, because you have Shredman clearing out that top side just so you don't lose.
Here's
Don't
Blade.
lose out.
Going to likely drop here. Pops the quickness, actually finding a way out. Barco Duck is low, and a lot of the engaged tools are down. Starry brawling with Fizzy, just buying time though, as Starry will fall. Now, low HP bars, they have to try to find a way to pick somebody. Fizzy is going to be the target, but Fizzy is too deft. Dodges back away with the skip and slash as the Dragon's getting started up. Lexus needs to try to find an angle to steal this. The teleport back in. Fizzy coming to rejoin the fight. Stro getting pushed back away, dives back in, just trying to hold down this Sejuani. Lexus will be able to take down Barco Duck, is going in for Stro. They've been able to find Burger King, and SDC have found themselves their fight. Stro will drop there. This could be Dragon Soul, but Fizzy's in the base, and Fizzy's been backdooring the whole time. The Travelers have won the game and taken the series. They've locked in top 3 in the Divine League.
Yeah, that's that is a huge upset, and the worst part about this entire thing is that Spooky has finally gotten a prediction right.
I feel the
No.
same way about Bonfire, man. It happens.
But really good clean play from Travelers. They're definitely showing to be the top tier team in the league right now. And they are definitely underestimated because they're the tier 4 team. They haven't really played anyone of worth outside of this team with the roster they have. So things are just going well for them overall.
Yeah, absolutely. We are looking around for an interview with one of the members of the Travelers here before too long. But what a great showing from them, as they are going to be able to move on up into that upper bracket final. Looking to try to make it all the way to the grand final, maybe not even touch the lower bracket. It's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves there. They're going to have another series to play next week. Meanwhile, the Death Cards, the first seed, will drop to the lower bracket, will play an elimination best of 3 next week against whoever drops between ISU and Redacted. That series to be played on another night.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. But if I have to pick anyone to do this, like, I would pick Fizzy to interview, just because he was their win con in both games. He was the unanswerable, and he's ultimately what led the team to victory both times. So, but outside of that, they all played really clean, really good. Burger King, really good games. Bark Go Duck, a little quiet in game 2, but that's because while Death Cards had an answer for one, they couldn't answer both.
All right, and looks like we're not even breaking. I see Lil Fizzy in the chat. Fizzy, have we got you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All
Hey,
right. Welcome on to the stream, my friend. Congrats on the win. Congrats on upper bracket finals coming into next week.
Thank you. It was a really fun series. They tried their best to shut me down, but just didn't work.
Yeah, certainly did not want to talk a little bit about the picks you ended up going with in this game. Was really a split push focused game plan there. You counterpicked the Renekton in game 1 with the Fiora. You ended up selecting the Gwen blind, as is required by the blue side in game number 2. Is this kind of split push game plan kind of something really defined to the identity of the Travelers, or was this just kind of the circumstances that the games threw at you?
I don't think it's really our identity. I would say 1-4 is something that we've done quite a few times, but I would say against this team in particular, we kind of felt like their top lane was a little lackluster in the last time that we faced them. Last time I had the Renekton Fiora matchup, I went 8-0, so I decided if he ever picks Renekton or Gwen for the flex, I'm just going to lock in Fiora on 3 because I knew this guy's going to blind it. And, game showed for itself on game 1, and then for game 2, it was just I knew this guy was like a tank player, and he really didn't have any comforts off the tanks other than the Renekton and the Cassante ban. I didn't find anything threatening, so I just blinded the Gwen, and lo and behold, he picked a bruiser that he wasn't very comfortable on.
Yeah, it was really good. And then going into the game, can you tell us a little bit of like what the comms are like in the early? Because uh, during those laning phases, your team was behind, unable to make a lot of plays, but you were able to withstand and hold true as you go into that mid and late games where you turn everything around. Like, what is the key to your success in being tilt proof?
Yeah, so I mean, going into game one, I said to the team, I know we're gonna lose early, but ultimately we have a huge win con of the side lane, and so just play through me, play it safe, we'll scale, and if even if I'm not ahead, we have the secondary win con of our team outscaling them. So we ended up getting the first win con with me a lead. They just played exactly how they needed to. They won a couple crucial fights, and then the other team tried to do Baron with Ezreal in your team, and they made a mistake. They couldn't do it. It took them 10 years to do it, and then they lost their entire base for it without even getting Baron.
Right. And then we noticed a couple weeks ago you had a complete and total shift in your bot lane. Can you talk about like the team environment about how that went going into playoffs? Because that was a large question mark for us here in the production staff.
Yeah, so before we had Crit and then originally Meeps, Meeps actually climbed too high to play in the league, so we had to get a new support, in which we got Foxchar. But we noticed Crit and Foxchar weren't really working out. Crit had a negative mental in some of the games, and so we decided to part ways. And we decided it was also best to part ways with Fox because he wasn't performing at the level we wanted. So we decided to give Aquaneko a try, and then we got Barco Duck, and both of them were playing really well. We had really good chemistry in scrims, and they were performing in even the situations where they had bad lanes, like we saw today in game two. And so they're actually the key point to this team staying strong is their ability to win even in hard situations.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Want to talk a little bit about looking towards next week as well. So, Redacted versus ISU Masters is the other upper bracket semifinal matchup. The winner of that will face you guys in the upper bracket finals next week. We know there's been some roster changes as we just discussed, but these are the two teams that the Travelers dropped to in the regular season. Any thoughts on those teams, who you expect to face, and what you expect out of that matchup?
Yeah, so Redacted was the better of the two teams. I'd say that we really struggled against them and compared to the other team, and I'd say it had mostly to do with our roster. We did end up scrimming Redacted, but they pulled off out of the games after we beat them game one because they didn't like what we were picking. They said that
Mm.
we weren't picking proactive champs that were like conducive to the meta, and so they were afraid to face us after they lost. So they ended up pulling out of the scrim there. So I'm not really worried about them anymore. Now we have an even better lineup than we did during the scrim. So I'm really confident going into next week's match.
Right on. I love to hear that.
Good
But
stuff.
that's all I have. Is there anything you want to shout out for?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out BK for really holding it together. Rough game one, but game two in a bad matchup, he persevered, went 6-0, and I want to say that he played really well. Good job to Stro as well for the good mental. I think our entire team played well, and can't wait to play next week.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Fizzy, and thank you everybody at home for tuning in. That is going to do it for our broadcast this week. We're going to be on this channel same time next week with either our lower bracket semifinal or our upper bracket final. Still TBD which of those matches it'll be, but stay tuned to the Risen Discord. Find out which one it is going to be. Stay tuned to this Risen channel throughout the week as we come back with more Risen Leagues, Risen Champs. Going to be continuing on with its playoffs next Sunday, as well as the other Risen Leagues over the course of the weekend. And other than that, that's going to do it for our broadcast. So thank you from myself, from Dobby, from Chippy on production. We're going to see you next time.
Thanks, guys.